Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Huddy Hui, episode 103. Apologies for the delay. Sometimes we have a few technical gremlins, but that's the joys of podcasting and also being involved with technology and live streaming. But we're here now, and we're live, and we've got our guest here joining us as well. Sam Smith is our guest. Of course, Sam has had a pretty interesting rugby career throughout his early years, and he's joining us all the way from the Hawkes Bay. Sam, great to have you on the Huddy Hui tonight. How's season 2024 been?
So this season, 2024, hasn't been much of a season yet, actually. I've just come off the back of a shoulder surgery. So tore my labrum and had to get a surgery November the 28th. So I've been on the recovery for 4 months now and trying to get back on the field end of May. So I'm actually in Greydown at the moment, back in my family town with my parents and all that. And then going to make the move back to the Bay probably in a few weeks. So yeah.
And how long is the recovery for that injury?
So it's 6 months to play again until I'm allowed to obviously tackle and stuff. But the return to work was about 4 months. So I've been on ACC for the last 4 months. Yeah.
And of course, you've been playing out of the Havelock North Club. Tell us about club rugby in the Hawke's Bay, and how's it different to club rugby in Wellington?
Yeah, so it's quite different. Obviously Wellington is quite big and physical. Always got a tough game every weekend. Not saying that you don't in Hawke's Bay, but I'd say probably there's like 6 good teams in Hawke's Bay that are really competitive and at the top, and then there's a few bottom tier teams, so you can almost, I guess, get away with not starting your best 15. Whereas in Wellington, sort of when I was there, anyone could beat anyone, and it was a big challenge every week. You sort of have to show up, if you know what I mean.
Now, of course, Havelock North is the club you're playing for, but at the moment, not at the moment. But how is the team going, and who are some of the key players on the
So
side?
yeah, they've 4 on the trot at the moment, going real well actually, better than the last 2 years I've been there. So they've got a few key players back, like Tony Lambourne's come back. Obviously he's a big influence in the side. Brendan Edmonds, Doogie, used to play for the Highlanders, Māori All Black. He's in there. Gareth Evans, he's been playing for the last few weeks. He's just heading overseas now, I think. Cooper Flanders, up and coming. He's massive part. And then the Allen boys, the twins, another big part of the squad. Adam Brady was a Magpie too. So a lot of talent in there, eh? Might be hard to get back in the team. Might have to go to jump in the Prem Reserves for a few games.
Now, of course, you've been in the Hawke's Bay since 2022. Why was the move to the Hawke's Bay from Wellington?
Yeah, so I suppose it was sort of like an opportunity thing. I was sort of on the bench all the time for the Lions, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but I just thought like to try and get a starting spot might be better to move somewhere else. And I was in Hawke's Bay, and I talked to Josh Sims because he was the coach at the time, and he sort of sold me the dream. Really, told me deliver, promised everything, so sort of moved up there. And then obviously I was fortunate enough to get a crack with the Magpies that year, so definitely worth it. Suits me a lot better as a player, I think, than Wellington, but yeah.
Now, of course, the Magpies have been strong for several years now. How is the competition within the team, especially in the flanking positions, because there's some real depth there at the Magpies?
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of depth there, and that's probably the challenge as well. Like I thought, like the way Josh Sims sort of told me about it was there's an opening there, but when I got there, there's so much of an opening. It was pretty hard. I had to work for everything I got, really. But yeah, lots of depth like Marino, Devin Flanders, Josh Kiefer, all them, real big players and been in the Hawke's Bay region for a long time. So it was quite hard to get on the field at the start, but hopefully now, getting a lot more minutes. So it's sort of making it a lot more worth it.
Last year, the team got the Wellington Shield and then made the final against Taranaki.
Yeah.
Brilliant final, but unfortunately, there has to be a winner and a loser, and Hawke's Bay didn't win. But tell us about that final and how tough was it for the team losing to Taranaki?
Yeah, so it was pretty tough from the get go. They got those 2 early tries, and then I guess we were just trying to fight back the whole game, and then to come down to the final minutes and like still be trying to chase the game. Like, you think you can do it, but I mean, we could have done it, but then to that last scrum where we got sort of pushed backwards, who's going to be happy after that? Team was down for a little bit, but then like looking at the season, we did pretty well for ourselves to get to the final anyway, so it was an achievement in itself. Yeah.
What's interesting about the Hawkes Bay at the moment, particularly Hastings and Napier, is the impressive sporting facilities that are there. Tell us about how those developing sporting venues are changing sport and rugby in the Hawkes Bay.
Yeah, so like the facility that they've built at the moment is awesome. Massive room, like green room and everything. The new field's amazing. I think like 2 years ago or before I got there, the boys were training out of Tremaine Field across the road, Napier Maris's club rooms, and like I suppose I don't know any different. Like I didn't get to experience that, but yeah, they're second to none really. Like field's always good conditions. Gets a little bit flooded in the rain, but pretty good. And then obviously all the gym and track and field. It's really, I suppose, in the last few years is where we've come a long way as well.
Now, we'll just ask you a few more questions here around your time in the Hawkes Bay. Who did you make your debut against for the Magpies, and what has been your best game to date?
So debut was against, I think it was the Wellington Shield game, the first one. I'm pretty sure it was against. It was either South Canterbury or one of them. But yeah, it was kind of cool. But like, I mean, my debut against the Lions was like a proper NPC game, and then this like the preseason Shield games, which sort of doesn't feel as special. But like you're playing for the Wellington Shield, which is pretty cool. But like when you're like running out on like, I guess it's just a little bit different. Hmm.
Now, where did your early rugby journey start?
Early rugby Jenny Featherston. Oh, sorry, I just forgot my best Magpie game. Sorry, I
Oh,
forgot to
yes,
answer that
sorry.
part of the question. The best Magpie game would have been this year against the Lions when we won the Shield, because I suppose leaving there and then coming, they took it off us last year, and then I guess coming back and playing them for the Shield and then retaining it for the rest of the season. That was pretty special, eh?
And of course, you mentioned
Mhm.
Featherston. What was your junior rugby club over there in the Wairarapa?
Yes, I started off at Featherston Rugby Club, but it was a bit of a dying club. It's still sort of battling a bit, so I moved up to Greydown for, I suppose, from under 11s to 13s, and then yeah, we had a pretty good JAB club like Rocco Berry. He's from Greydown, and the Warriors now. Lots of bit of talent out of there. Ranieta and Chris, Stream boys. Ranieta played pretty high level too, so pretty strong club.
Of course, also a product of Wairarapa College, but your sporting journey could have gone another way instead of rugby. Tell us what other sport you were pretty good at.
Yeah, so my mum and my sister always done hockey through the years, played hockey, field hockey, always in the rep teams, and I'd always just find myself, traveling the country to watch her play. So then I find myself a stick in hand mucking around. And then I started playing it, and then I started getting the rep teams all the way up into year 9, year 10, and then got on the first 11 in year 9. I mean year 10, and then it was when I was moving into year 11, I had to pick if I was going to make the first 15 or if I was going to stick with hockey. And then obviously I chose rugby, which has worked out obviously quite good for me, but could have gone either way at the time.
Of course, how many years were you in the first 15? And what was your most memorable game playing for the Wairarapa College first 15?
So I was in there as a year 11. Played the 3 years in the Wally comp, which was it was pretty good comp actually from Wairarapa to travel over and play against the big boys. But most memorable game would have been when we beat Scots in that quarter final to make the semi against Wellington. That was quite special. Obviously, it was a mud pit of a game, and we just got the early try and stayed there. Feels like it was yesterday actually. But yeah, that was a pretty special game. Tip over one of the big four schools in Wellington.
Now, Wairarapa, pretty much since it joined the Wellington competition, it had to wait a few years, has been competitive in the first 15 premiership. How tough is it to have to travel over to the hill to play in Wellington and also in the Hutt Valley in Pairua?
Yeah, I suppose it was a little bit of a chore, but like the reality is that you can stay in the Wairarapa and play like a different level of footy, or you can go over to Wellington and probably play some of the best years of your life against the top tier teams. So it wasn't really an issue for us. We just love to get over here and have a crack at the bigger schools, and put our name on the map. Really, we'll try to.
Um, what traditionals do Wairarapa College play in first 15 rugby?
So Napier boys, we always had a traditional against Napier boys. Well, I think it's against the second 15 now because we always used to get a bit of a hiding when we go up there. But we always have a traditional against Rathkill. That's like our rivalry school back in the day, and I'm pretty sure that's our two traditionals. Yeah.
And of course, there's one question I forgot to mention to you. The year you bet Scotch, you qualified in the top four, and also got to play in the Transit Coach Lines competition. Tell us about that, where you get to go up against the four Hurricanes teams that are in the Super 8.
Yeah, that was really real cool because, like, for us little school to get those big preseason games, like, was unreal. And then I think we faced Hastings boys, Palmy boys, and it might have been St. Pat's Town. But the hard thing about it is, like, for a little school like Waipa College, like the year before, obviously we had a real good team and got to go to transit. But then the following year, you always lack depth, so you've got a completely different team. So you're almost like on a rebuilding year. So when we're in the transit, we're sort of just getting a bit of a hiding, but obviously like opened your eyes up to play against the bigger boys, and you're like, oh, this is what first 15 rugby's about.
Rathkill College play in the Central North Island competition. Do you play there regularly when you were there?
So that's one of those traditionals that we'll just have once at the end every year, and that was probably like we looked at that as our biggest game because we'd always want to get it. I think when I was at school, I think it was the 12th year that Waikato had won in a row, and then we drew and then won our last year. And I think the boys after us lost today, so I think the scores are quite even now, like really competitive, which is probably a good thing.
Now, you were in selection in your last year of school for the New Zealand Barbars. Tell us about that experience. Um, and you got to play in quite a unique game, which the Barbars didn't actually win.
Yeah, exactly. I think just for myself personally, like coming from the Wairarapa, a smaller region, like to make a team like that was like really special in itself. Like obviously big achievement. I was like real proud for my family and stuff to be from one of the littler regions and actually get that opportunity. But the funny thing is, like, so I played for the Maldives the year before, and then we're like, yeah, let's smoke the barbars. Let's do it. It was like me, Stu Cruden, and a couple other boys all in the Maldives. And then the following year we made the Barbarians, and we were like, I don't know, there was talk about if we make the Barbarians the following year, we'll go back to the Maldives, but obviously you're not going to do that. And then so we're the Barbarians, and then the Maldives probably had that same mentality. And bet I say it, I guess it was, yeah, it's pretty shit feeling, but obviously, you're still stoked to be on the secondary school level. I suppose it's the best it is in that level, other than NZ schools. So, yeah, it's real cool.
Now, how did the move to Wellington come about? And tell us about also being part of the Wellington Academy.
Yeah, so when I was leaving school, obviously, like when you make the Maldives Barbarians teams, it sort of opens up a little bit of a pathway for you. And I remember Rick Whatarau, he was sort of on my case about coming to Wellington, and then Hawkes Bay were a little bit like, oh, yeah, come up here, but weren't chasing me as hard to, like, obviously move. Living in Featherston, it's just over the hill. Thought, yeah, I'll just try my luck in academy, and then going from training at Waikato twice a week to 5 academy mornings, five academies. Oh, was that you or me?
Ah, yeah, that was me.
Every
Sorry,
morning.
continue.
um, yeah, 5 training sessions a week, and like pretty much like I suppose it was the most professional and serious environment I'd been in my whole life. So it was a little bit of a wake up call, but obviously turned me into a better person and work it. Like I was trying to work a full time job at the time as well. So like the first few months just killed me, but like looking back now, it's probably like molded me into the person I am today, sort of as well.
Now, you joined the Wainuiomata club in 2019. Um, who did you make your debut for? Against, sorry, I mean, when you played for Wainui. And tell us about your debut year as the club nearly achieved a historic feat.
Yeah, so My first game was against Huddle Boys Marist. I think Salisi was playing on the wing and he scored about 4 tries against us, but just to get out there and play Prems, like I wasn't sure when I went to Wellington if I'd be in the Premiership grade, and then like once I made it in there, I was sort of just stoked to be on the field, and having to run around at 7 was really good. And then it was that 2019 we made the final against North. So so I played a game against Avalon and I broke my hand. And then so I was out for most of the season, and then I come back and then I was thinking, oh, the boys are going real well. They're like 6 wins, beat Ori's twice, beat the semi. And then I had to come back and I was like due to come back in the semi, I think. And then I remember I either had to choose if I wanted to play the under 20 Maldives game against Fiji or play the semi against Ori's. Then I said to the coach, I said, I think I'm going to go play for New Zealand at like New Zealand Māori instead of the semi. And I wasn't too happy about that. And then so I went away, played the game. I remember getting back in the change room and I checked my phone straight away. And I think Isaac was checking his phone as well. He might have been Ori's. And then the boys won. And I was like, oh, man, we're going to the final, come back the week after. And knew it was going to be a tough final against Norths, and then I was on the bench, and then I just remember at the start they were just running tries, and I was like, shit, what are we going to do here? And then we had Pete and Thomas in the midfield trying to run a muck, and then the boys had them shut down too, so we were just sort of pushing shit uphill, but we come close. That's the main thing, eh? Story of my life.
Now, of course, there's a family connection to the Wainuiomata club. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my dad, he was born and raised in Wainuia, so he always goes on about this thing like Parkway versus Wainuiomata High. Most of us young fellas don't have a clue, but apparently there's a bit of a rivalry back in the day, so I don't know, I hear about it every time I get in the club rooms after the game. But yeah, so he grew up in Wainui, and basically I didn't really have any other choice to go to another club. It was Wainui or probably stay in the Wairarapa.
Now, 2020 was quite a tough year for a lot of people, and club rugby started late. Round 2, Wainui played Petone at William Jones Park, and for a long time, Petone hadn't beaten Wainui at William Jones. But towards the end of the game, talk us through that Trey Mew moment when he scored that impressive try.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just remember, I think I was Ruben Love kicking off, and then I was sort of to the right, and I just seen this kick go real deep, and I was like, shit, that looks a bit too far for us to chase. Might be going dead. And then out of nowhere, you just see Trey just sprinting down there, and then just gets it. And then the boys just like, oh, why don't we do that every time? Easiest try ever, eh? Oh, yeah, it's like that Chiefs one, eh? The quickest try ever was actually like that, really. And it was
Now,
on video.
sorry, continue.
I was just saying, there's mean how it was on video, and boys watched it over, eh? Seen it going around Instagram for ages.
Now, I think it was that same year as well, you played the Hardham Cup final against Hutt. And earlier that year, they had beaten you, but you managed to turn the tables in the Hardham Cup final and beat them. Tell us about that game and how important that was.
Yeah, I remember going out for that game in the changing rooms, and the boys are just like, we can't let these boys walk over us again. Like, we've come a long way. So the mentality, like, going on the field was pretty much just like, we're gonna set the standard from the start of the game. And I remember the boys running out there and just like pods running at our line, and everyone was just smoking them. Like, Teru, he was just putting on shot after shot, and all the boys were just so G'd up, and then we started getting go forward, scoring the 3 tries.
Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. Now, of course, also, that same year, your efforts were rewarded when you made the Wellington Lions for the first time. How special was that for you?
Yeah, that was another special moment for me. I suppose, like, coming through the academy, you always dreamed of playing for the Lions, but you're never too sure on when you're actually going to get a crack. And then when I got the call to come in as an injury replacement, I was like, oh yeah, this is real cool. Like, I thought I was just be filling a spot, holding the tackle pad for the rest of the season for the boys. But then once I found out that Dupes had like gone away with the All Blacks, I was like, oh, I might be in for a shot here. And then obviously got named on the bench like straight away, and then I was just over the moon. Sort of bit of a wake up call that way. Like I think I was working on houses like I'm a builder, and I just see this call from Leo, the coach, and I was like, oh, I wonder what he wants. He's like, you want to come play rugby? I was like, oh, I'd love to come play rugby. And I was thinking, I need to go for a run tonight. But yeah, so then I obviously got my debut for Wellington, and then there was just another real special moment, like sort of, I guess, like professional game on TV, family there. Yeah, it's a real cool one, special one up at Counties.
Yeah. So that your debut was against Counties Manukau, is that correct?
Yeah, Counties up there, so obviously go away with the team, and then got on. I think got 20 at the end. Just jumping on the field's like a pretty special moment, when you're running out for the first time.
What was your best game and moment for the Wellington Lions?
Oh, it was been when we went up, had a crack at the Shield against the Magpies and got smoked. And I thought, that's the team I want to be in.
No.
Nah, no, it would have been Wellington Lions best game. I would have had to be my debut, I reckon. Just the first game, like first NPC game. Yeah, it was pretty special.
Now, what does the future hold for you, Sam? And what are you doing outside of rugby?
Yeah, so at the moment, like since I've been on ACC, like obviously I'm a builder by trade, but I sort of just started like it come from a mate, or Tavita. He's sort of just like a fellow Greyhound business guy, and I sort of started. He asked me to train his son up over the preseason because he's going to Palmy Boys, and so he's come from Rathkill to go to Palmy Boys, and wasn't too sure if he'll be like fit enough or like strong enough, rugby knowledge, whatever. So I said, yes, sweet as, I'll start training him. So I'd take him down the park, do one-on-one sessions and whatever. And then, like thinking of it, I sort of thought like this is what like kids in the Wairarapa are missing out on, like the specific skills training, mentoring, and all that. So I sort of like, I guess, found a gap in the market for it, and then did a little bit of research and planning, and thought like, how can I sort of be a resource and give back to the kids like that when I was in the position? Obviously didn't have like, I was lucky enough to get into these camps, but sort of felt often lacked a little bit of experience when coming up against like the big schools that have the academies. So then I started doing a bit of research, and I got like 5 kids on board and started mentoring them, providing them specific skills, and they like really started enjoying it. So at the moment I've started up like a little next level mentoring business, and I've just got kids helping them out during the week. So I've been doing that, and it's going real well. Just trying to give back and create opportunities for like NPC players as well. If you look at it in the other way, generate income for us, like because you're semi-pro, so you always have to go find work. It's hard to find a boss that's going to allow you to work 3 months and then go play rugby. Like, so you're sort of not really doing them any favors. So if like you could create something where a few NPC players around the country can jump on this mentoring buzz and get paid to do it, like it's sort of generating income, and you can do rugby full time instead of going to work and swinging a hammer. Because I think we'll get a lot more out of that than going on a building site and walking around with a tool belt on.
Well, Sam, it's been fantastic having you on the Hui tonight. All the best with your recovery, with your injury, and hopefully we'll see you on the rugby paddock later in the year.
Sweet. Thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. That is Sam Smith from the Hawkes Bay, and of course played for club rugby for a few years in Wellington for Wainuiomata, and what a story he's had, and what a great initiative he's shown, starting off with his mentoring program while he's recovering from his injury on ACC. So hopefully we'll see him on the rugby field in time to come. Now, if you probably noticed, we had a few audio issues. Our interface that I mainly use decided not to work just half an hour before kickoff. So if you're wondering why my mic's a little bit low, that's probably why. We've had to try and boost it up while we're going through the interview. We're hoping to have Dave Piper come on and call in. Unfortunately, my interface and the calling system was part of that, so that all went down. So we'll try and get Dave on next week. Hopefully we can get the interface working. But in the meantime, it's round 3 of the Swindale Shield, and we're going to have a look at some of these big games that are coming up because there's been some big movements in the first 2 rounds. And let's look at game 1. This is going to be Norths versus Huddy Boys Maris. Now, Huddy Boys Maris in particular are top of the charts. 2 big wins over Wellington and a good win over Avalon in the mud at Fraser Park. Norths have lost their 2 first games against Marist, and then a high-scoring loss to Jayville. They are back at home, but the Eagles are pretty stacked, and I think the Eagles are going to win at Jerry Collins Stadium. Second game is always a good grudge match, this one. Marist St. Pat's versus Tawa. Tawa had a narrow win over Parramatta Plimerton, 10-5 last week. Marist St. Pat's had a big win against Oriental Rongotai. They're back home at Evans Bay Park, and they will be the victors, in my opinion. The third game is the Johnsonville Hawks versus the Wellington Axemen. Johnsonville, narrow loss to OBU in a game they probably should have won, but they won last week in their game against Norths. So they're playing Wellington, who have 2 losses, and I'm picking the Hawks will be unstoppable at Helston Park. Our second game is Old Boys University versus Petone. It's the Billy Goats' Old Timers Day. Petone, 1 loss, 1 win. They had a disappointing loss against Upper Hutt last week. Got a few injuries out. Old Boys University seem to be in punishing form at the moment, putting 50 points on Wainui last week. So Old Timers Day, I'm picking the Billy Goats, OBU, to win that game. Next one, and this is going to be a real blockbuster. This is Upper Hutt versus Oriental Rongotai. This is going to be a real doozy of a game. Upper Hutt were on sensational form last week. Oris, of course, lost to Marist. They didn't have Dominic Ropeti last week, but I'm suspecting that they will be bouncing back. But at home, I think the Rams will be too good. Their forwards were very good. Their pick and goes and set pieces were too strong last week against Petone. So that's why I'm picking them. Porniki versus Wainui. This is always a good rivalry between these two. Wainui will be hoping they probably have the services of Andrew Wells back this week in terms of goal kicking. Porniki at home are always a tough challenge. This game could go either way, and because our guest played for Wainui, I'm going to go Wainui this weekend. Both these teams have had no wins yet. Parramatta Plimerton, of course, were in fine form. 2 tough games to start off with, but they are playing Avalon, and they are back at home, and I think it's going to be Parramatta Plimerton that will win that game. So those are the fixtures of round 3, rounding up. Actually, on Huddy Sports this weekend, we've got a different game to cover. It's a pre-season game. Is St. Pat's Silverstream versus Nelson College. This is going to be a great indicator. Nelson, of course, are playing New Plymouth Boys tomorrow at High Tide Park at about 2 or 3 o'clock from memory. They've agreed to meet down in Wellington to play that game. And then on Saturday, 11:30, are these 2 teams, Silverstream and Nelson. Silverstream had their first hit out last week against Fielding and had a narrow loss. So they'll be looking to see how they go against Nelson, who seem to be in fine form and look like they've got a strong roster heading into their competition down in Canterbury. So those are the fixtures this weekend, including that game that we're covering on Huddy Sports Live. As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Mike Pinfold, Plumbing and Drain Laying Limited, and Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers. It's great to have them back on board. And always, if you're willing to help out Huddy Sports, make sure you head along to our website, huddysports.co.nz. We're always interested in your help. Well, that is the Huddy Hui for tonight. And we'll be back next Wednesday. Fingers crossed that the interface decides to sort itself out, and we'll have hopefully some better audio, and we'll be able to have our guest call in to do our picks for the preview of Swindale Shield. So that's the Huddy Hui for tonight. I'm Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.